Once again, South Carolina proved that they are the best team in the SEC. South Carolina and Texas have been fighting for the number one spot since South Carolina lost to Texas on February the 9th. And that in itself is crazy to me because in the first matchup, South Carolina beat them by 17 points. And in the second matchup, Texas only won by 4 points. So having Texas number one didn't make any sense to me, but I digress. I get it though. South Carolina lost 3 games this season, which is uncharacteristic for a team that only lost 3 games total in the last 3 years. But I'm going to shoot South Carolina some bail. This year, they don't have a dominant big. That is their identity. From Asia to Aaliyah to Camilla, they always have run their offense through a big, but not this year. This year, it has been by committee. They've been trying to figure out their new identity, but it has come with some growing pains, and that's okay. Out of their 4 main bigs, the most skilled and aggressive one had a season-ending ACL injury after only playing 14 games. And through it all, South Carolina still figures out a way to win. South Carolina ended the season tied for first place with Texas in the SEC standing, 15-1 record with only taking a loss to each other. And instead of the people in charge doing their due diligence to see who would take the number 1 seed in the SEC tournament, they decided to flip a coin. And I don't think that was fair to South Carolina. In most, if not all metrics, South Carolina wins. In a head-to-head matchup, South Carolina won by 17. Texas only won by 4. If that wasn't enough, look at the net ranking. South Carolina is ranked number 2. Texas is ranked number 3. Net ranking is the most important ranking, by the way. South Carolina pretty much wins every category, and yet the Texas head coach still found a way to be mad at a coin flip and complain.
Was he practicing for South Carolina to be heads up or Texas to be heads up? I mean, why do you have to practice for 2 hours? What are you trying to get accomplished? I mean, I'm not Kirby Smart. I'm not going to, hang him out, but I don't understand what does it take 2 hours to practice flipping a coin? Unless you've got some motivation for that. Just saying.
Now let's listen to this idiot.
The SEC tournament number 1 seed was determined by a coin flip.
Ridiculous.
I would be furious if I was Texas.
I would be upset.
Why should Texas be upset? There's not a single reason why they deserve number 1. And aside from the SEC, they haven't really played anybody besides Notre Dame, which they lost to. Look at this. Trash team after trash team. All right, West Virginia, cool. They barely won that. Then they lose to Notre Dame. That does not compare to the non-con schedule that South Carolina be playing. Michigan, NC State, UCLA, Iowa State, Duke, TCU. Out of all of those, just 1 loss. But this is, of course, comparing both teams' 1 loss before they lost to each other. Now let's listen to Dawn, how she reacts to winning the coin toss.
Fresh off seeing the coin toss, coin gods were in our favor. South Carolina, number 1 seed. We got to make it count. See y'all in Greenville.
And make it count, they did. They went on to win the SEC championship by defeating Texas, which broke the tie. And if it's one thing we know South Carolina to do, is get their lick back. They do it every time. Watch Madison Booker Hill talk some trash to Bree Hall and watch her get her lick back. Let's read her lips. She can't guard me. Mind you, she was 7 for 22 in that game. Yeah, Madison, you scored 20 points, but 7 for 22 is trash.
I won't say no names, but I will say that the special somebody said she can't effing guard you. So I said, okay, who can't guard you?
After the game was over, both coaches did the press conference. And let's listen to Vic Schaefer complain about the location.
Again, it's a road game. It is what it is. It's the Southeastern Conference. It's where they've chosen to have our tournament. And so, again, I've been in this game a lot, and it's a road game. You're already playing a top 4 team in the country, and then to play them basically on their home floor, it makes it that much more difficult. I mean, let's say we were playing in San Antonio. How do you think it would be? Probably be a little different, right?
No, that's not right. As a matter of fact, on March the 30th in 2021 in San Antonio, South Carolina defeated your team 62-34. As a matter of fact, Vic, you are 0-7 against Don Staley in SEC tournament and postseason games, no matter the location. 2 of the 5 SEC championship games were in other states, Nashville, Tennessee, and Jacksonville, Florida. And the other 2 postseason games, the Elite 8 was in San Antonio, and the championship game was in Dallas, Texas. I don't know what it is about Dawn Staley when coaches, media, some fans, they don't like to give her credit. I mean, I do know what it is, but sometimes I just don't feel like talking about race. Vic Schaefer, your team shot 16 of 54 against South Carolina, and you're talking about the crowd. But the night before, your team shot 18 of 57 in front of a neutral crowd, and that was cool because y'all won. South Carolina has a very, very, very dedicated fan base. They have led the nation in attendance for well over 6 years. 16,000 fans per home game compared to Texas, 7,000. And that's being generous. You don't compare. South Carolina fans travel. They will pack out the seats. I realized that when they played that Paris home opener game last year. I'm sorry, but I'm going to say it. They gave the wrong coach of the year. That was Don's. And they gave the wrong player of the year. That was Anissa Morrow's. I'm not really sure why they want Texas on top so bad, but they do. And I'm about to explain why. Regular season champs, they sharing that with South Carolina. Cool. 13-game winning streak. South Carolina had a 17-game winning streak this season. 3rd ranked strength of schedule. Actually, it's now the 4th rank. But even that, South Carolina is the 1st rank. Number 3 net ranking. Well, South Carolina is number 2 net ranking. 12 quad 1 wins. Now Texas has 14 and South Carolina has 16. South Carolina wins on that. All right, I'm going to let y'all be the judge of this last one. If South Carolina has a non-conference strength of schedule of 4 and Texas has a non-conference strength of schedule of 21, who do y'all think won more top 10 and top 25 games? Exactly. South Carolina blows them out of the water when you look at the facts. They just didn't play enough top talent in the non-con. And every head-to-head between South Carolina and Texas also tells you how much better South Carolina is. Not to mention they lost their 2 best bigs, one to the WNBA and one to an ACL injury. And I don't want to hear about no McDonald's All Americans. Every coach has the opportunity to get them some. It's not Dawn Staley's fault that either you can't recruit right or you can't develop them right. A good example of this is Aaliyah Del Rosario at LSU. She was looking okay last year under Angel Reese. What happened? She looked real bad this year. She looked unusable. And that's sad for somebody of her height. I blame her coaches. Don't worry about what another coach has or what they doing with theirs if this is what you're doing with yours. I'm going to always use my platform to big up Dawn Staley. It's a lot of hate and negativity out here surrounding her name. I'm going to always bring positivity and love, especially when I feel like she deserves it. Texas getting number 1 over her, blasphemy. South Carolina was supposed to have that. But I get it. Everybody want to knock Dawn off the throne. Anytime y'all can sniff somebody else can be better than South Carolina, y'all throw them on top.
I feel like when we played at Texas, we were kind of down. We played bad, but we still only lost by 4. So that shows how good of a basketball team we are. But, I feel like the outsiders are trying to find any reason to, put us down or, I think they're honestly just tired of us being on top, really.
3 games against Texas this season. There's been a lot of talk about each one of them. What statement do you think you guys made with a 19-point win here today?
That we the real number 1.